Hey guys, welcome back to the Tin Man Saw compound. How you guys doing? So you want to build saws from junk like I do. Friends, almost every saw I own, I bought as a basket case. It's very rare I buy a running saw. We're going to talk about why that is. And also, the different stages of buying junk saws, from incomplete missing parts to a complete saw that doesn't run. Well, all the way up to a running example. Well, I got a whole bunch of saws on the bench here, and I thought, let's talk about, you want to build junk saws, and you're not sure where to start. Which makes the most sense monetarily, and which makes the most sense for ease? Well, let's talk about that today. Okay, guys, on the bench here, I have the appetizer sampler. And by bench, I mean tailgate. $394, $395, $394. $395 and $394. These are various states of how you can buy used saws. Now the question is, why not just buy a running saw? Well, the pricing on these vintage saws, because I mean, guys like me don't help that. When I run my ported 394 on video, fellers out there want one and everybody's looking for them, and it seems like the prices go up. And it's not just me, it's others. I originally fell in love with these things when I ran that one. I ran that saw, got to be getting close to 10 years ago, friends. And I absolutely fell in love with them. And also, I saw Buchan's ported 394. And since we're talking 394s, this is the saw that started it all for me. It's a clip from Buchan's video from years ago. This is my favorite chainsaw video ever made. I'll put a link in the top right here. Watch this thing go. And that's why I built this one. These things, friends, for 99% of us, including you tree guys out there, you fallers, arborists, firewood guys, this is pretty much the last line of defense. You really don't need a bigger saw than this in most scenarios for the timber that most of us cut. I've been all over the United States now. There's some big wood down there, but nothing that, you know, unless you're getting into your old growth fir and stuff like that. I mean, most of the trees that are around, you could cut easily with one of these. So the question is, I get this question all the time, friends, and it's, I want to start building junk saws, but I don't know where to start. Should I start with that, or should I start with that? Well, today's video, let's talk about the different saws that are on this bench and how much they're worth in today's world, whether I like it or not. I mean, friends, I used to buy non-running saws for $50 10 years ago. Easily. $50, and I could usually rebuild them for another $150, and I could have a running saw of whatever brand, whatever size for a couple $100. Well, those days are gone, friends. There's less and less of these, and there's more and more people wanting them. So let's start with my 1998, no. Sorry, friends. 1994 Husqvarna 394 XP. This is the most expensive saw on this bench, and it cost me the most. Okay, this is almost a unicorn saw. I am missing the dogs right now on the outside because this chain brake was not for this saw, but because it was so nice, I decided to switch with another saw. But if you look at this thing, friends, this thing is absolutely pristine. It has never been apart. It has never been blown up. It has never been rebuilt. This is a complete OEM 394 from 1994. So this saw is 32 years old. And if you look at the plastic, it's still shiny. Okay, these are getting to be impossible to find. I traded a saw for this. That's probably worth, oh geez, $1,500 now, friends, to get this. Years ago, it wasn't worth $1,500 then, but I mean, if you found a 394 like this and it was in that kind of shape, you're gonna pay new saw prices, and expect that. Don't be surprised when the guy says he wants $1,500 or more, because there's really none of these left, friends. None of them. The only thing wrong with this is the top cover is a little melted. No damage to the muffler. All the paint's on the front. Often you find them broken in here. Okay. Rear handles in pristine shape. Even the original low top cover, friends, is shiny. There's no damage to it. Okay. So if you were starting out and you just have to have a running one, buy this one. If you find one of these in this shape, just buy it. If it runs good. I don't know if this one has fuel in it, but I mean, this saw is a runner, and there's no fuel in it, friends. So, well, there's a little splash. If we can fire this up, I won't start all of them, but this saw's 32 years old, and I don't even think I've ever put a carb kit in it, friends. Just gonna tighten the muffler or the side cover nuts down, the bar nuts. Okay. Ready to rock and roll, no hesitation. That's how a good 394 should start. This thing's been sitting for, I don't know, well over a year, friends, since I've had it running last. And that's old fuel in there, and that's how it starts. So if you find one of these, and it's going to be $1,500 to $2,000, I reckon, in this shape. Okay. And if you don't want to wrench, or you don't know how to wrench, well, that's where you should start. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum with the 394s. This one here. Now, this one was donated to the channel by a buddy, TK. How you doing, TK? I hope you're still around. I haven't heard from him in a while, but good friend of the channel and has helped us many times. 2, 3, 4 years ago, maybe 5 now, he sent me a video of this thing running horribly, clanging along, and he said, I got a 394 here. It's completely knackered. It needs crank bearings. It needs a piston rings, crank bearing seals, carb kit. The intake block is broken. The plastic looks horrible. But he said, I'm going to send this to the channel. Well, friends, in this kind of shape, okay. Oh, and the other nice thing about these is the modern flippy caps, they fit on here. Okay, so that's a bonus. But in this kind of shape, friends, in today's market, you could probably pick that saw up for $300, maybe $400. Okay, which sounds like a lot, but I mean, realistically, friends, that's what you're going to pay for this saw. And but you're going to have a complete saw then. Okay, this saw was 100% complete, other than I needed an intake block and a few fasteners, I believe. But I mean, it had the wrap on it, the dogs. It was missing the chain brake though. So chain brakes are available aftermarket. I think you can buy a chain brake for $60 US. I'm going to use US funds here because most of you guys are in America. And I mean, US currency is the currency that most are backed by. So you can buy a aftermarket chain brake. They're not as good as the OEM. This is an OEM chain brake on here. You could still buy OEM chain brakes. They're about $130 or $140 US. Okay. But So again, friends, you're gonna pay. I mean, and I might be out to lunch, but you're gonna pay $300 to $400 in today's world for this saw, blown up. Okay, I got it in a box in pieces. After he got it running, he took it apart, boxed it up, and sent it to me. The downside is if you buy a 394 and the cylinder is scored, you cannot buy a replacement anymore. There are no OEMs available, and except for a few guys have them stashed away, and there are no aftermarkets. Highway, Meteor, when are you guys going to get on that? Can you guys make a 394 replacement cylinder? I'll buy 10 of them right now. Seriously. But what are your options, friends? You can put a 395 cylinder and piston on here and intake, and also convert the carburetor. I just shot a video on the differences. They have the same carburetor, but a 395 is impulsed through the top, and a 394 is impulsed through the intake block. Okay, so again, $1,500. You're going to pay $300 to $400 probably. Some guys would say that's crazy, and I agree. But that's the world we live in. We live in a world where people know that stuff's worth money and they don't want to part with it. So you're gonna pay, you're gonna pay dearly. Nice thing is you can go to Wolf Creek Saw Shop. My buddy Ryan there, he helps us out with all of our parts on the channel or anything that's available through him. You can go to Wolf Creek and buy everything you need to go through one of these. Especially if it's a 395, you can buy a carb kit, intake boot, piston, cylinder, crank seals, crank bearings, and all your gaskets for this, including your exhaust gasket. You can buy a muffler. Aftermarket mufflers like this one are totally available. You can buy all that stuff readily. You're going to spend probably another $250 to get this thing back up and running. But when you do, it'll look like this, but it'll run like that. Okay, so you're going to be into that saw for $600 probably when you're done. Okay, it'll never be worth what that saw is, but you'll have a deadly tool. I use this saw anytime I need a big saw, or I'm standing at a pile of logs bucking. I buck with this saw with either a 24, which is stupidly fast, friends, or a 32, or 28, friends. Or a 3-foot bar, but when I'm bucking with this, a 24 in a log pile is just a thing of beauty. Okay, so there's your second way. Okay, so you're $1,500. You'll be $600 finished with that one. Now we'll go to the last way to buy a 394. Right here, friends. That is a 394. You can see the thumb screw there. That's what's left of it. Is this a good way to buy saws? Yes and no. For me, I don't care because I already have 2 more. And if I have to find another 394 out there in YouTube land, somebody will have one and say, hey, I'll sell this to you, or I'll donate it, or whatever. That's usually the way it goes for me. But again, I try and do these projects in a way that you guys can follow along. So what does this saw have going for it? Well, it has compression. Okay. All kinds of compression. I don't know what the piston looks like, but based on the compression that has, I'm guessing the cylinder is good. Factory carburetor, intake block, and air filter horn. It is missing one of the starter paws. I have those, so that's of no consequence to me. No recoil, friends. Okay. A recoil for this saw is going to cost me about $60 for an aftermarket one, which is probably the road I'll go. A new one is going to be $140, I think, US. You could still buy recoils, though. Okay. No chain brake cover, but it still has a clutch. No wrap bar or half wrap. None of that stuff is present. So, no fuel tank or handle. Okay. Also, it's going to be missing. It still has the AV on there, but it's going to be missing the rest of the anti-vibe springs. So I'll have to buy those. No top cover, no air filter, no filter cover. So this thing's missing quite a few parts, friends. But it's complete. You get what I'm saying? Complete enough that I can rebuild it. So I'm going to have to buy. I ordered a rear handle, an aftermarket rear handle, and I'm going to do an aftermarket chain brake and an aftermarket recoil. Okay. All three of those are going to be, let's see. I'm going to spend probably a couple $100 on aftermarket parts to get this looking like a saw again. Top covers for these, you can pay $20 to $25 US and get an aftermarket top cover. You can get an aftermarket air filter easily and cheap. And if I have to, I'm probably going to run the $395 high top cover, because they don't make a low top version in the aftermarket. So, but again, friends, what would I pay for this? Well, I'll tell you what I paid for this. I bought each of these for $100 each. Okay. US. So I have $200 sitting here right now. Okay. For $100, I could probably have a running saw with crank bearings, gaskets, a piston. I'm hoping I don't need a top end. If I do need a top end, well, then this thing's going to cost me a little bit more. But let's say I can build another ratty 394 like that somebody would love to have, friends. If you don't have a 394, any 394, especially one that runs good, that's built by the Tin Man, you'll be happy to have. At least I would be. So this saw, I'm going to spend, we'll say $300 US. Okay. And when I'm done, it's going to look relatively new. Okay. It'll have a new top cover. It'll have a new chain brake. It'll have a new recoil. It'll be a clean looking saw. Okay. The cases are not broken in any way. Okay. All these pieces are in good shape. The front here isn't broken. And if you look, friends, if I wipe this off, okay, most of the paint's still on that case. So, the muffler's bashed in. I'll probably pipe this saw. But I mean, even the muffler's in nice shape, friends. It's got a few dings on it. But again, I could order these. I can order this complete muffler. In fact, I think I have one from Wolf Creek for like $40, we'll say, $30. Okay? So, again, friends. So, really ratty, missing parts. Probably a $400 bill when you're done, US. It'll be a clean looking saw and it'll run good when I'm done, but it'll always be a parts mix master, you know, half aftermarket, half OEM 394. Almost all OEM 394. Again, though, this one has a broken case on the front right here. This is not the nicest saw I've ever owned, okay? It's usable. People giggle when they run it. I always bring it to shows, but I mean, realistically, friends, the biggest problem with this is because this is broken, my gas tank is shifted, which makes this sit too close to the, makes the side cover hard to put on and take off. So, this will always be a ratty saw. But again, if you bought that, you'd be into that for about $600 and you'd have a decent 394. It's not nice to look at, but it sure is good to run. Okay, friends, so on a budget, you buy saws like this, as long as most of what's under the hood is there. You don't want to start looking for little fasteners and little parts, but I mean, the coil's there, the flywheel, the clutch is present, it's got the muffler. Somebody robbed a few parts off this, or maybe somebody dropped a tree on it and broke the handle or whatever, friends. But I mean, all in all, for $400, even if you're into this for $500, you'd still have a nice 394. We'll say $500, and you could have a wrap bar on there and all the good stuff, and you'd have a 394. So don't overlook these part saws, because often you can make something nice out of them. Okay, let's talk about the two 395s I have here. Okay, friends. This is my buddy Justin Sizemore Tree Works. He's on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the places. He's in more places than I am. He's a good buddy of mine. Really like the guy. And he quit his office job to become a tree climber. So there you go. And he's a big fellow like me, and he climbs. Just an awesome guy. Absolute heart of gold. And I enjoy the time we spend together. So anyways, friends, long story short, Justin picked this saw up, okay, at Buckenstock. The same fellow that had these two. How you doing, Stevie? Stevie had this saw. And I was actually going to port this saw at Buckenstock, but I ended up porting that 660 for Sizemore. And because this didn't get there till day 2, and I had no parts for this, and it needs some work, friends. Okay, this saw did come with a muffler. It's in my job box, so this is 100%. It's a complete saw. Okay, it's all there. Every piece of it under the hood is complete. See if I can get these off with my fingers. Okay, friends, everything's complete in this saw. It's dirty, but it's all there. It is missing the operator presence lever and one side cover here. Okay. I don't think I have those, but that's often the case with these. They're missing the side of that. Doesn't affect the runnability of the saw, but I mean, it still is a problem, right? So you can tell this is a newer saw because it has the blue choke. This saw is a 2006. Okay. What are you going to pay for this saw running? Well, to me, and what I see, 395s do not command the premium that 394s do. But, I mean, this saw in today's world, and I mean, look, friends, I just started wiping it down. It actually looks good. The detractor, the top cover's a little bit boogered, and it's missing some paint on the case here. Other than that, friends, this is a pretty nice, clean, respectable saw. The handle's not bent. That's been sawed a few times, but all the decals are present. It's actually not a bad saw. And friends, I pulled it over at Buckenstock and it runs. Let's see if it starts again, and then we'll talk about a value on this thing. Here, friends, I'm going to quickly just see if this thing fires. I did get it running at Buckenstock. It's going to be real loud because there's no muffler, but... Oh. Kill switch is busted. That's pretty common with these. It runs good, friends. Real good. When I first saw it, I was like, I wouldn't overpay for that. It runs good. Piston is starting to score. You can see, I don't know if you guys can see, but I can see on this side the piston is starting to score, so I won't be running it anymore. So it needs a rebuild, friends. One look at that piston, you can see, you know, it is starting to score on this side. So we're not going to run it anymore, but the rest of the piston looks perfect. So I don't know if it ate some dirt or whatever. What are you going to pay for this saw? Well, this is, I mean, realistically, friends, yeah, it's dirty, but it's actually a nice looking saw. You're going to pay $500 to $600 for one of these now. And honestly, that's probably what it's worth, friends. You throw a new piston in here, and I mean, the way it starts, you can tell it probably doesn't have any air leaks. Put a new piston and a carb kit. Maybe put a fuel filter and fuel line and replace the intake boot. You can buy all that stuff at Wolf Creek. You could have a saw that you go and make a living with, and you know, for $500 to $600, you could have a rootin' tootin' 395. Okay, so I'm glad Justin bought this. We've never done a 95 on the channel. Or the inverse of that, or the complete opposite of the spectrum, is this saw. I knew what this was right away when I looked at it because it didn't have a thumb screw. There's no coil here, and there's a impulse line going to the top of the carburetor right here. Also, it had a 394 recoil. I didn't see that right away. This is a 2000 model 395. So this would be an early 395. Again, friends, $100 for this saw. What is it missing? Muffler, which I don't care about. Air filter. Actually, I think the air filter is rolling around somewhere for this saw, but muffler, air filter. It doesn't have a chain brake and doesn't have the top cover or any of that stuff. Other than that, though, friends, it is 100% complete. What is here? Everything's here. Throttle still works. It's got the correct carburetor. It's got a half wrap. So really, friends, you're doing okay. One thing I will say for these saws, all of them, you could still buy the OEM full wrap. Cheap. $100 maybe. And it comes with the double dogs, the chain catch, all the fasteners, and the full wrap. Like this saw has. This is a half wrap saw when I got it, and I bought, that is a OEM full wrap bar for this saw. Okay, so you can buy the full wrap still. You don't got to go custom or pro safety or any of those. I mean, you're free. Feel free to do that if you want. But this saw is complete. Okay, what does it have going for it? Well, it's got most of the paint on the front of the case. It's not broken here. It still has the ID tag right here, so you can tell what it is pretty quick. It has the rear handle. It is missing the operator presence lever, but it does have the two inserts here. Don't know if you could still buy those, but it has the clutch. So, I mean, realistically, and if you look at the piston on this thing, the piston's like brand new, friends. You see that? There you go. I don't know if she'll focus. There you go. Okay, friends, the piston's like brand new. In fact, if I put fuel in this saw, I bet you it would start, or at least fire. Okay, so the nice deal is for me is I've been looking for a original 394 decaled recoil for years, and now I have one which I can put on my 394 right there. Okay, so I was willing to pay $100 just for this recoil because I'm a weirdo like that. So again, friends, you can buy a top cover, an aftermarket one, or an OEM, depending on how far you want to go. But you can buy all that stuff readily available. Okay, top cover, air filter cover, and a muffler and a chain brake. You can buy all that stuff for a couple $100 and then run through this saw. So, I mean, I'll be into this saw for the same kind of money as this. This will have aftermarket parts on it. So are you better off to buy the cleaner saw for more money? Yes. If you can't afford it or you don't care what the saw looks like after, then no. I remember, friends, when I started doing this, I had no money. I could not afford to shell out $500 or $600 for a saw. And there, believe me, there was a lot more saws cruising around this neighborhood back then. I had access to all kinds of cool and rare saws that I just couldn't afford to buy. So back in the day, and a lot of times still, I buy these. I feel like it's better content for the channel. You guys get to see what you can do with your own hands, your own tools, and limited money in your shop. But again, friends, if somebody throws one of these down and it runs and they say $500-600, buy this one if you can afford it. Because, I mean, really, I can replace the piston, port that, build a muffler, and have a fire-breathing Tin Man saw in no time for no money. You know, I could have this thing up and running in as little as a couple days. Now, this is Justin Sizemore's saw. And I might do a separate video, but I'll let you guys know that are here. I'm going to build this saw for him. I also sent him back home with that 660. I traded for that 2101 XP. Go back in the channel. I've done shorts on it. That saw was nuts. He ran it at Buck and Stock last year, and he was just like, wow, that's a saw that you could, you know, really make time with. And it's true. That saw, that 2101 will pull a 4-foot bar, no problem. And it's ported. It's just a great saw. The problem with that saw, Freds, is he's been having trouble with flooding it. Now, I don't know if that old school ignition is giving him troubles, or if, because some of these old saws, Freds, it's like driving an old truck. You got to listen to the machine. I don't know if he's flooding it by accident. Because we had no trouble with it. But one night at Buck and Stock last year, we flooded that saw bad. I put a new spark plug in it and it fired up. But we don't know what he did to it. I think he just pulled it over and was listening for it to fire, but he didn't hear it fire, would be my guess. But anyways, Fred, so he needed a big saw. So I sent him back with that 660 we ported at Buck and Stock. That 660 runs good. He put a better chain on it. We beat on that saw pretty good, friends, at Buck and Stock. I was actually trying to see if we could blow it up. Why? Because, well, I find a lot of people take this saw building thing way too seriously. It's just a power saw, friends. My family, my wife and family is super important. Everything else is just material, you know? So we ran that thing hard, and I did a cut with a dull chain on that saw just to see what it would do. I wanted to see if it would get hot. Anybody can make power, friends. Can you make power and keep it stable? Stability in a work saw. Be like, imagine having a work truck that every second time you go to start it, it doesn't fire up. You wouldn't use that truck. You wouldn't rely on it. You want a truck that you put the keys in and it goes vroom every time. Well, same thing with a work saw. You know, do you want a saw that's going to blow up if you run it with a dull chain for one last cut of the day? Or do you want a saw that'll do it within reason? Well, I'd rather have the saw that'll do it. So anyhow, friends, I told him, take that 660 back with you. The 2101 wasn't with him. Take the 660 and run it. So I gave it back to him, friends. And that 660 did have some piston wear on the intake skirt. We saw it when we were building it. How long it'll last, I don't know. I figured I'd work it hard at Buck and Stock, and if it blew up there, I'd bring it home with me. But the idea is, friends, he can run that 660 for a while, because he's a tree man. He cuts every day. He can run that 660, and while he's doing that, we will build him a fire-breathing 395 XP. Very similar to that. He really likes this saw. Most guys that run my 95 are, they all say, or my 94, they all say that they really like that build. It's easy to start, it's easy to tune, it idles, and it's really fast, even in hardwood. It's just an easy saw to live with. So anyhow, Reds, so he bought this, and we are going to build this for him. We're going to put a full wrap on it. Full wrap with West Coast dogs, and send it back to him, and that way he can have a fire-breathing 395. And then we'll get him to send that 660 back, and we can pull it down and see. Because honestly, friends, that 660 needs a new piston, and it would be nice. It'd be nice if it lasts a little while, and it should, but we'll see, right? You never know these things. So anyhow, friends, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to build a chainsaw. Don't let anybody tell you that their way is the only way. And don't let anybody tell you that just because your saw isn't shiny, don't mean it's not going to run. Because, I mean, this thing looks like a turd, and it absolutely hauls. You know, we were running at Buck and Stock, and it's like there's a lot of hotly built saws there, a lot of iron there, and you know, that pipe 395 would be faster than this for sure. But it's like, you know, there wasn't many saws there that I would even think would give this thing a run, let alone, you know, outcut it. And I'm not saying that to brag, friends. What I'm saying is that if you're going for speed and reliability, I mean, that thing's horrible looking. It looks like it's been sitting in the back of a truck its whole life. It's got hockey tape on it, but it still absolutely cuts. So anyhow, friends, thanks for watching. Take her easy, and I'll see you guys in a couple days. Later.